You already realized, and you will hear more about this during this meeting, IMI is more than a partnership just between the industry and academia. And we have the pleasure now to have presentation by representative of the regulatory agencies and the patients' organization. And our next speaker will indeed be Bruno Flamion from the European Medicine Agency, and he will tell us about the vision of EMA about IMI. Bruno.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michel, and thank you for inviting me to speak during this important day of the IMI stakeholders. First, I would like to say that the regulatory agencies across the world, not only the FDA, but also the European Medicines Agency, even the national agencies in the member states and also in other parts of the world, are all interested in development of innovative products, and this is actually part of their missions, of their roles, to foster as much as possible development of such products. So the roles of this agency is not only to agree on marketing authorization, but also to try to foster what's going on in research and development. So this is a disclaimer to say that these are my own views, but this presentation was prepared in collaboration with Professor Hans-Georg Eichler, who is the Senior Medical Officer of the European Agency, and as such is one of the key contact points between IMI and regulatory agencies. We all know the problem of this widening gap between global new molecular entity output and R&D expenditure. This is not maybe a major problem for industry right now, because the global sales are still increasing, as you can see, so that the profit is probably maintained for the time being. But certainly no one expects this situation to hold on for very long, and some people predict that within 2 or 3 years we will have reached the end of this kind of development and will need to change. This has resulted also in increased development times for new medical entities, but not extremely increased, as you can see here, so that the problem must be somewhere else. The problem is really in attrition, in the fact that a lot of new molecular entities have to be stopped during development, and this is what drives the cost of research so much. So one of the solutions would be to accelerate approval of new medical entities, of new products, so that the benefits can be obtained earlier. But is early access to the market the most appropriate solution to the productivity gap? The regulatory agencies generally do not believe so. Even people believe they are taking an opposite direction by actually raising the entry bar for new medicines, requesting more safety data and more convincing efficacy data. This is, for instance, highlighted by a recent publication in Nature Reviews in Drug Discovery, where actually we have looked at last year's drug approval, so in 2009, and the success rate for those products that came to the CHMP for marketing authorization is only 60%. So 4 out of 10 companies coming with the hope or the belief that their product will be approved for marketing authorizations are rejected. This is an extremely high number, reflecting the current problem. We have also reflected on this issue a couple of years ago by publishing this paper where actually we highlight the dilemma in which drug regulators are faced, to which they are faced. So balancing the early market access on one hand with the need for the benefit-risk data. This is really the credo of all regulatory agencies, benefit-risk balance. We all have to live with this. The society requires the regulators to be protector of the benefit-risk balance, and we cannot really move away from this. And this dilemma is very clear, because on one hand you have industry requiring favorable conditions for innovation, patient groups requesting early access, unmet medical need, which are absolutely obvious in our current society, but on the other hand, financial difficulties by member states, payers, prescribers, health technology assessment organizations, the media, also demanding stricter safety assessment. Everyone is expecting a drug to be absolutely safe when it comes to the market. And also one has to confess probably increased medicalization of problems such as obesity, metabolic disorders, or mood disorders. So how to solve this kind of conundrum is probably very difficult, because the timing of marketing authorization is something that has to be somewhat arbitrary, I would say. There is no absolute rule to put the line of authorization either in the middle or towards higher level of knowledge, which would be, I would say, a safe mood, but then would delay access to innovative drugs, or maybe to a lower level of knowledge, which creates uncertainty. So, accelerating approval of innovative drugs is certainly a risky business for regulators, and history can highlight this. We have some successful examples. Certainly the TNF-alpha inhibitors are a success story, and I think the regulators were quick to realize that this was a really breakthrough in the therapeutic areas. As you can see, for instance, with infliximab, Remicade, as one example, the product was approved relatively early, since its current, I would say, the current number of indications for which it is used was not foreseen in the beginning. We started with a very limited indication, Crohn's disease, and then over the years, many more situations where efficacy was demonstrated were added. Also in terms of safety, of course, this slide is even more crowded than the previous one, because the number of label changes, warnings, dear doctor letters, follow-up commitment for more safety data really accumulated over the years. So this is all happening after marketing authorization. So in this case, I think we have to realize a posteriori that the authorization time was really early in the life of such a product. And this will probably happen more and more in the future. There are other less successful stories, I would say. For instance, one really innovative product with a selective cannabinoid 1 receptor antagonism was approved in April 2006 for the treatment of obesity, but had to be removed, had to be withdrawn from the market less than 3 years later because of concerns about suicide and suicidal ideation. This was really not a success because it was apparently not possible during the 3 years to deal with this safety concern that were known from the beginning but became larger than expected. So we have tools to enable rapid market access. The most famous one is the conditional marketing authorization, meaning that the product comes to the market at a stage where there are still important data to be collected. The legislator was very cautious with this kind of approach because he requested, or they requested, the regulators to really rely on a positive benefit-risk balance, even at the time of conditional approval. That means not a presumably positive, but a really positive. This creates, of course, a difficult problem. But then there is an opening, and the opening is towards public health, because the approval can be conditional and very early if the benefits to public health of the immediate availability outweigh the risks in the fact that additional data are still required. So public health can really drive innovative products to be approved at an earlier stage. This is the only real important reason to go for accelerated approval. And that illustrates also the growing need for post-marketing benefit-risk assessment, because this rapid market access will immediately be accompanied by more demands for post-marketing data accrual.